How's it going, Critter Family? Hope you all are doing well. Today we are going over a video by Zach George. I am back at it again. I know I said that last time and then I went on a break again, but hopefully this will be a permanent stay. I'm on some new medication and it is helping me tremendously. So far the depression has been away and it's been at bay for a while, so hopefully it stays away. So yay for that. Hope you all are doing well. Thank you for the kind, supportive comments and concern of everybody. I'm doing well, and we're gonna get started here with some Zach George. Somebody asked me to look at a video of his where he works with a German Shepherd with resource guarding. So this is Jade and Athena. And in this video, this is how to stop food aggression and resource guarding and stop biting when giving treats. So if you're ready, then let's just get started.
This is Jade, and this is my puppy Athena. I got Athena because I definitely looked up the German Shepherd breed. They're very loyal, working breed. Sometimes when I give Athena a bone, she's likely to more snap or bite at me when I try and take.
So it's good that she did some research into looking into the breed. Yes, they can be a very loyal breed. I think any dog can be very loyal. But you also have to be aware of other parts of the breed, making sure that you're aware of their energy level. Are you capable of giving them everything they need? Are they prone to, being reactive towards other animals or other people? Do they get guardy with you, or protective of you? So just, do your research into your own breed, whatever breed you choose to get. Or if you do get a mixed breed, or a super mutt, if you go and adopt, then do some research into that dog, or mix of dogs that you have to make sure that you know just what you're getting yourself into with your dog.
Get away from her. It's especially when other pets are around. Zach, I would like you to help me when I give Athena a bone to take it away.
I'm going to help Athena work on.
So that's really
resource
smart.
guarding.
That's really good to work on with a puppy of any age. I like to start at a very young age. I think this puppy is, I'm not sure how old she is. She might have said and I didn't hear because I was talking too much, but go figure. But either way, I like to start at a very young age, being able to teach a puppy to accept me taking their bone. That's why, for me, I'm a fan of getting a dog when they're a puppy versus an older dog at this point in my life. Later in life, I would probably like to adopt older dogs, like in their golden ages, their golden years, so that way I can, save them and give them a good golden year life. But right now, I'm definitely into, if I'm going to have a dog, I want them to start them from a puppy so I know exactly what they're learning. I don't have the energy to counter condition a bunch of already learned behavior. So that's just for me. It doesn't mean that you have to get your puppy from a breeder. You can get them from a shelter. You can get them from rehoming from a friend or wherever. It's not about, we're not talking about adopt versus shop. I'm just saying that, when I get a dog, again, I want to get them from a puppy so I know exactly what they're learning. And I want to teach them very young how to be able to trade and not be aggressive when we are getting or taking bones away from them.
Getting her to stop taking treats too rough and see if we can get her to listen more reliably.
I give her a bone, and when I go to take it away from her, I definitely believe she would snap at me.
It's obviously.
So that could be a little bit scary, definitely scary starting with a puppy, and especially it can grow into something bigger when they're an adult. I've worked with a puppy that was in one of my puppy classes that was definitely a bad resource guarder, and they were probably 12 weeks old. And this puppy was a golden doodle, and they showed very, very severe signs of resource guarding, showing teeth, really snarling, really being very aggressive. So we worked with that with the family to make sure that they are not, in danger of their puppy, and their puppy is not, at risk of harming anybody or being harmed themselves.
I'm not doing my job very well if I put myself or you in a position to get snapped at. Really what's key in this situation is to go really slowly. I think we can make a lot of progress on this today because she's very young. It's a normal behavior. I can show you how to at least handle it when
I like how Zach says that it's a normal behavior because it is. It can be a very common behavior for dogs and a very normal behavior for them to want to protect what they see as theirs. The puppy is not doing it to be nasty or to try to hurt you. She's just instinctively saying, this is mine. I don't want it to go away. I don't know if it's going away forever or not, but I want to protect what's mine. She doesn't know that she's going to get it back later. We control everything in our dogs' lives. So, of course, if they want to be protective of a bone, they don't want it to go away. I don't blame them because, everything else in their life is controlled. And if I'm chewing on a bone, it's like if I'm, I don't know, I'm into reading manga now. I mean, I've always been into reading manga, but I'm back into reading manga. So if I was reading a book or if I was eating a meal and somebody goes to take my meal away or my book away, I'd be very frustrated and I might want to go and get that back. So it's a resource of ours, just like a resource of the dog's.
Does happen. So my game plan here is to start with something that's not so valuable, maybe like a plastic bone, and see if I can take that from her first. And then
That's brilliant. That's actually a really, really smart idea to start with something that's low value that you start with, which I can appreciate that Zach, I'm learning things from Zach even now, that you can start practicing with your own dog at home with a very low value bone, that you don't have to start with the highest value or whatever it is that they're protecting. For some dogs, a high value could be a tissue or a remote control, but a low value would be like a plastic bone or a nylabone. So that's really smart to practice with that first and then work your way up to the higher value resources.
Then we'll see if I can work up to taking something even more valuable from her, something like a real animal bone. You wouldn't feel confident taking that bone from her at all right now?
No.
Okay, I'm not gonna go in there and take a bone from her because I don't know how she's going to react. But sometimes you've gotta get something away from your dog and you wanna do it safely. Here's a trick. I got treats.
Very good. So that's exactly what I would have done. I'm going to toss the treat away from myself, away from the bone, away from the dog. So the dog wants to let go of this to go for the treat, and then I can pick up the bone. Depending on the dog, I might just bend down and touch the bone. I might not pick it up right away. Depending on how quick the dog is to want to come back and grab the bone again. I don't want to be in the way of their teeth. So if it's, when I have resource guardians that I work with that are not puppies, that are adult dogs, then I work on, tossing a treat away, and I'm just bending down and just touching the object, and then I stand up again, and they go back to chewing on whatever the bone was. Of course, we practice with something that's safe for the dog to chew on. We don't practice with a tissue. If it's a tissue, then I'm going to trade and grab that item as quickly as I can, and then I'm going to work on a good, strong leave it with that item. But in this case, I might just pick up the bone, put it back down, and give it back to the dog.
Give her the bone. Right, I'm gonna let her enjoy it for a minute. I took it back, but I didn't just say you can never have that again, because this is acceptable. That
Very
one,
good.
Get her a little farther away there.
Good. Excellent.
There you go, good. And it's also quite healthy there. Have her chew on it while you're holding it, so it's kind of like you're sharing possession. I'm seeing
That's exactly what Adonis would do. Adonis would actually bring his bone to me for me to hold it because he didn't have his little hand. I mean, he used his little hands like Athena here is doing, but he would bring a bone for me because it was easier because I just had opposable thumbs and I would hold it for him and he would chew on it and I would hold, sit there falling asleep late at night when he wanted to chew on his bone and then he'd fall asleep too. But that was just us, because I always held the bone for him, to chew on. It was just something I did. And so that even when he was older, he'd bring his bone over for me to hold on to it.
pretty normal signs that she's being okay. I feel really good that she's doing well here. I mean, this is all very normal.
And you want to practice this, in my opinion, you want to practice this a lot with something that's safe for them to work with, because you really want to make sure it's a strong, reliable behavior before you move on to something higher value. He has an episode to film. He has her probably for, I don't know, I'm going to assume an hour. So he has, he's on a time crunch, so he's going to work his way up to as high of a resource as he possibly can. But in normal circumstances, I would recommend that the owner work with their dog very slowly with items like this before they move to a higher value item.
Give her a better tasting bone and see how that goes. Now, if Athena gets this, I'm guessing she's going to be a bit...
Now, I don't know that I would even use something like this. I would probably give them like a bully stick or something like that, but I wouldn't give them one of these for a couple of reasons. One, because it's such high value that you're very likely going to start resource guarding in your dog. It's a bone that I wouldn't normally give a dog on multiple occasions. I wouldn't even give it to them on one occasion because these bones are cooked and they're very brittle and they can be harmful. I'm not saying that Zach's going to harm the dog if the dog chews on this for a couple of minutes. But with a bone like this, I just wouldn't. I would use a bully stick, and a bully stick could be just as high value as one of these cooked bones, but they have little bits of marrow and meat on them, and it's a very, very high value resource. So if you wanted to test your dog's resource guarding, you could use one of these. I personally wouldn't. I would use a bully stick.
Of it. My goal here is to be able to give her this bone and take it away, really have her react well. There you go. Good. Athena, come here. So I can't call her off of the bone right now because she's really into it. There we go. Was able to take it away there.
So that was
That's
excellent.
what I'm trying to have happen. Good job.
Personally, I wouldn't have expected her to go for the treat, over this, because sometimes this will even trump treats. So then you have to go higher and higher. And so then how are you going to be able to do that when you have such a high value resource, and you don't have a treat that can trump it? I mean, of course, eventually you'll have, your dog will be hungry enough, or you'll find something that's high enough value, like a piece of ham or a piece of cheese that'll beat even this, or it's just as good as this. But that's why I, wouldn't work with something like, I feel like this for me would be unfair to work with the dog with, because it's so high value that I wouldn't, I would worry personally that I wouldn't be able to trump whatever this is. But he's able to do that with Athena, which is great.
Give it right back. And so right now she's being quite good. The hypothesis here is that if she doesn't think you're going to take it away and keep it forever, she's likely to react well. Not to mention, we're surrounding her chewing the bone with, hey, you get a treat sometimes.
Excellent.
Which is a positive outcome. That's enjoyable. So this is a really good example of counter conditioning.
Good.
Again,
so he was careful there. He didn't put his hand in the way while she was there. He threw a second treat for her to go get while he went to go grab this.
reversing the reaction that she typically has when you take a bone of being protective. So right now, I'm working up to taking the bone directly from her mouth as she's chewing it.
Good, as he's touching it.
Without having to lure her away with a treat. Right there, and see how my hand, I'm gonna touching it.
And just so you know that Zach is working very, very quickly. He feels confident with his puppy here, that they are safe, that he can work with them, and I trust him in what he's doing here. But again, this is working very quickly. So if you at home were to be trying this, then I would recommend that you work a lot slower and you're not trying to work as quickly, with your dog. Especially, I wouldn't be using a bone like this at home.
Right here. And desensitizing her. So she's getting very used to seeing my hand come in. Nothing bad's happening.
So he's not saying it, but I see it as pressure and release. He goes to touch the bone and then he releases right away. He goes and touches the bone. That's pressure, putting pressure on the dog because he's putting his hand close to the bone. He's touching the item that the dog is trying to protect, or the dog would try to protect, and he moves his hand right away. Right away. So that's desensitizing the dog to the bone.
Real slow, just to read any changes in her body language. I'm looking to see if she freezes up or anything like that. There we go, right there. That's the first time I've been able to pick the bone up without getting her away.
I wouldn't have expected that at all.
But so far, she has no reason.
So that tells me that she's probably not snapping because she's necessarily resource guarding. Maybe she is. I mean, I trust the owner, but maybe she's just snapping just because she's, she's just being a puppy and saying, "Hey, I want that back." Not as a way of like, give that back, that's mine. There's more of an intent of seriousness with one way, a dog could snap versus the other way where they're just trying to grab it from you and they happen to catch you with their teeth.
Think that the bone's going to go away forever, so she's being very cooperative.
Gets her into a sit before he gives her the bone.
Trainers out there would throw a shock collar on a dog in this situation, or a choke chain on them, and just
very easily. So many people would just be abusive with this puppy here, and a puppy, no doubt. Just to work on resource guarding, and all they would do would be suppressing the dog's emotional state of mind and feeling the need to protect the item. So when the one day you don't have the shock collar on, you're not a domineering person, and you can't show them your dominance and your all this other force and other nonsense, then the dog will fight back, or they'll just shut down entirely.
Intimidate the heck out of them to break this behavior. But when you try to create fear or intimidate a dog like that, you're very likely to make the issue worse. So it's important to just handle this intelligently with our 21st century brains, understand that this behavior is instinctive, and we just need to show them how to behave. Really good. And you have another dog in your house?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that. How are they getting along?
It's like an angry sister relationship.
Okay.
She'll egg her on, kind of nip at Ginger's
Good, so he rewarded her for a sit and rewarding her for a down.
feet to try and get her to play with her.
Have they gotten into altercations yet?
They have, but only with treats.
By treats, you mean like a bone or a toy?
Like a bone. If I give Athena a bone and I give Ginger a bone, if Athena finishes hers first, she will go after Ginger's. She pins Ginger down, the back of her hair kind of like flares up, and she like lunges like to bite at her.
Oh boy. Is it pretty
So I would, anytime I have two animals, two predators especially, any two animals period, but predators tend to create more damage than prey animals do. So like if you had two horses in one pile of hay, they start fighting, they're not going to necessarily, be bleeding from each other, versus two dogs and one bone, and they're going to be bleeding from each other from a fight. I would generally make sure that I separate the two, and I have them either in their own room or there's like a little baby gate between them, just in general, just to make sure that everybody's fine. If one dog is going to finish a bone before the other one, depending on what type of bone it is, it might be like a piece of CET chew, which is like a piece of rawhide chew, or like a what are they called? Those greenies or something. If you give them something that's like that, then I would just separate them, let them finish them and at their own pace. Or you can crate both dogs, or crate one and the slower eater, so that way they have time to chew on theirs, and you don't create this draw between the two predators or the two animals. In this case, it would be the bone that is the draw for the dogs. And the dogs want to go after each other because, they say, well, it's normal behavior. The dog says, well, I finished mine. I want that one. If I can get that through pure force, then I will. And that's just, unfortunately natural behavior for them. But we don't want that to happen because we set up the scenario of them being in the household.
Recent that's happened?
For like the past month and a half.
Yeah, that's about the age where you start to see this type of behavior emerging, if it's going to, and it is a bit concerning. Typically, dogs, say under the age of 4 months, they're not actually aggressive. I mean, you'll have rambunctious puppy biting. However, once dogs hit around 5 months of age, maybe 6 months, if you're going to see it, you often start to see it emerge around that time. And so while it's true that you can have a really intense puppy biter, there is a huge difference between puppy biting that's related to teething and grabbing things, and a dog actually aggressively snapping at another animal or a person.
For sure, definitely.
Management is going to be required for the next year or two on your part to really minimize those instances. And by management, I mean having her on leash, not having unrestricted access to your other dog. That's really important because she's got a lot to learn. The younger a dog is, the worse their impulse control is. That's how you manage that situation, but that's only half the equation. In order to actually...
Very good. It's important to say that, yes, you are going to have to manage this, and this will be a long-term management. This is not a quick fix. This is not a 5-minute, trick where you just beat the hell out of your dog to stop them from, from beating the hell out of your other dog. You have to manage that, and you can counter condition it as well.
Hopefully work towards them getting along. Have your other dog either in a crate or on leash so you can really work with her on these types of exercises. Because again, you're just trying to desensitize her and let her know, look, these things happen all the time. It shouldn't be a special occurrence. You shouldn't feel protective. You're going to get what you want. Between doing that and really managing, that's how you're going to get to where you want to be. Let me see you work with her if you don't mind.
Sit. Sit. Tina. Sit.
So funny.
Sit.
So she's
There
repeating
you
the
go.
cue.
All right, so it's
She changes her tone from higher to lower because she's getting frustrated. The dog is not responding. So that's one thing that a lot of people will do. You can call it a mistake that people do or not, but that's one thing that a lot of people do is they'll repeat the cue over and over again instead of changing what they do, instead of, getting up and trying to lure the dog again and change, put your hand a little bit closer to their nose and lure them into position, or change your body language and get a little bit closer to your dog. People will just repeat the cue and then they get more from sit to sit. And I'm not saying that that's what she did, but, she changed her tone of voice, and she's repeating her cues. So that's just one thing that a lot of people will do. What I would say is don't repeat your cues. Don't change your tone of voice. Don't even really bother saying sit if she doesn't know how to sit in this moment, because in this moment, he's been luring her. He hasn't been giving her the sit cue that I know of. She's just been lured. So I would just work on that, where I would say, okay, if she's not responding to the SIT cue, then I would have you go back and lure her into position a couple of times without saying the SIT cue. So that way you don't confuse her, and just really work on her being able to follow the lure. And then you can give her the SIT word and tell her sit, and hopefully she will follow.
took a few attempts there to get her to sit. And why do you think that is?
There's a lot of distractions.
Every time you change an environment on a dog, you can expect them to be like, whoa, what's happening? There we go.
Good girl.
Oftentimes people try to wean their dog off of treats way too early. And so it's
Yep.
really important to be generous with your rewards that first year of training. If you are having trouble getting her to be reliable in new places especially, you want to be ultra liberal with your rewards. Now, that doesn't mean big treats. It just means lots of small, good treats.
Okay.
Exactly.
Ooh, boy, she takes treats kind of hard, huh?
Yes.
So let's talk about briefly how to resolve that. It's very, again, normal for young puppies to take treats rough, but see what I'm doing here? I've got a high value treat, but I'm just gonna let her lick on it right there. See that? You see how she's licking when I have a firm grip on it?
Yeah.
She's nibbling a little bit. That licking, I'm gonna go ahead and reward that. Now she's licking. I like that, so I'm gonna release the treat when
Good.
she licks.
Okay.
In other words, it's kind of a gradual process. Right there, she's taking her teeth. That's not working. The licking works. That's what I'm trying to teach her. When you lick, you get the treat. When you bite, you don't. In the meantime, though, while they're getting into the habit, if you must treat them and they're still taking treats too rough, open palm. Pretty hard for them to bite when it's open.
I will also do like an open palm, but I'll have the treat in between my two fingers. See if I can get his open palm here.
Open palm.
So in between these two fingers, the first and the third finger, and I'll push this finger back a little bit. I'll have the treat in between those two fingers, or my first two fingers. That way that's I still feed them open palm, but it's not open palm. It's like in a flat hand in between two fingers. That's usually how I treat a dog to prevent them from taking my whole hand off, and sometimes they still do. And I don't scrunch my fingers up so that way they go for the fingertips or the thumb. That's how I treat a dog.
Pretty hard for them to bite when it's open palm. These puffer treats are perfect for this type of training.
So it looks like
I'll have
that
a
was
link
it
below where
for
you
the video. I thought he did a great job. I think, he worked, fast for the sake of the episode and the video, but, he was comfortable with where the dog was and they were able to get a lot of progress done. I don't know that I would be using a real bone the way he did. Just for me, I just feel like I would rather use, I would use a higher value bone as well, but maybe not something quite that high value because, I don't know that the owner is going to be giving, there's lots of, you could give your dog cod skin or lots of other natural, more natural treats that would probably be just as high value. But, one of those real bones is pretty up there. So I would just work on making sure that we work on natural, whatever the owner would naturally be giving. If the owner is going to be giving, what are they called? Greenies or something like that. Whatever they're going to be giving the dog more often is what I would be working with. So that way the owner knows how to work with that at home in the same manner as we are working on in the lesson. So let me know what you think of this video. I thought he did a great job. Good job, Zach, as always. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. Go say hi to your little critters. Go say hi to for me. Give them some kind of love and they appreciate. Until next time, practice peace, patience, and positivity.